while we're on here, but always encourage folks to, if you ever want, oh, thank you. We are recording, so sorry if you are not interested in being recorded. Please let us. It's now the time to jump off. But always encourage folks, if you have questions, you can always reach out to us. We always try to make ourselves available, especially we know there's always some challenges that come up. So with that, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Christy Muldowen. I'm the Nursing Facility Survey Units Program Manager. And today we have a presentation from Kathy Elizondo, who will be speaking about she's our complaint intake triage manager, and we have licensing also joining us today to present. So with that, I believe Kathy's up first.
Thanks, Christy. Yeah, you guys, I just wanted to kind of talk about just some things that have been coming up in complaint land, and a couple things that I just wanted to kind of let you guys know. We are really getting a lot of complaints about facilities not answering their phones. We're getting them from families very concerned that they can't reach their loved ones. So just kind of letting you guys know, hopefully you guys can kind of look at your facility, see if that's becoming an issue. It could potentially turn into an allegation, especially if you have family members not able to.
Oh, well, that's what they're going to talk about. I mean, do you guys want to all listen to this, or you want me to go somewhere else?
No, just a reminder, please mute yourself. Thank you.
Got it. All right. So as I was saying, this could potentially be an allegation, and we may need to come out and investigate, especially if we see that families are not able to get a hold of their loved ones. So just, something to think about. The second thing I wanted to kind of just bring to your guys' attention, we are seeing that some facilities are notifying APS when there's an elopement. And typically that will kind of just get kind of forwarded to us if APS sees that this was a resident residing in a nursing facility, right? So what I would suggest is if you are calling APS for an elopement, and I would imagine the example that I have is we had a facility call APS, a resident left. They were completely alert and oriented, and I'm assuming the facility was just kind of, doing their due diligence, letting APS know. Just, you got someone else not muted.
I got it, Kathy.
Got it. Okay. So my suggestion there is if you could please just let us know. You might want to submit a FRI just saying, hey, letting you know that we reported this to APS. This was an alert and oriented resident, but we just want to ensure the safety of the resident. So hopefully that makes sense. And then next slide. Really, you guys, I just want to talk about FRI reminders, and we will probably have this every quarter, so apologize if it seems redundant, but we continue to kind of get really incomplete FRIs, and it can make it very challenging to the intake triage team to triage some of these FRIs. So these are just reminders. So basically, we really please avoid generic statements. Okay, we still are getting FRIs that just simply one sentence that says resident states they were abused, or resident lost wallet, or report of a resident to resident incident. Really need you to be a little bit more specific. So obviously in the examples I'm giving here, ideally what we would want to see is if a resident states they were abused, is it physical? Is it sexual? Was it verbal? And resident lost their wallet. Does that mean it was misplaced or was it stolen? Right? There's a big difference. Resident to resident incident. Again, was there physical abuse involved, verbal? Next thing is we do see at times we're not seeing interviews with the alleged perpetrator. We're seeing unclear interviews with the victim. And this kind of ties into when you conduct your thorough investigation, what we really need to see in terms of the thoroughness of it. We still see, you're not interviewing other residents if it was a staff to resident allegation of abuse. So ideally, if you have a staff member that's being, the allegation is that this staff member, let's say, physically abused this resident, we would really want to see if you interviewed other residents that this perhaps alleged perpetrator was taking care of. So hopefully that makes sense. So, I would think the first thing you would want to do is interview all other residents that this staff member took care of. We had an incident, a facility where luckily they did that. And unfortunately, they found several more residents that were abused sexually by this staff member. So that's why we can't stress enough. It's very important that you expand your scope and really reach out to other potential victims. We still see kind of a lack of detailed conclusion how you either ruled out abuse and neglect or how it was substantiated. So this is really like anything. Once you're done with your investigation, you're going to summarize it and kind of tell the story, how you came to your conclusion. And then again, in terms of thorough investigations, this is really what we would want to see in terms of a really thorough investigation. Obviously, the date and time. Sometimes that you'd be surprised that's getting missed. Detailed description of the incident and all who were involved. Again, can't stress enough on your interviews. We still get some where there's maybe 1 or 2 interviews. Again, if you have an allegation of abuse, you should really be throwing out that net and interviewing as many possible people as you can, even peers, right? Did you see anything odd about this staff member? Again, I've already said about other residents, and you always want to interview the alleged perpetrator. Again, we just had a recent incident where they concluded that abuse occurred, but they never interviewed the alleged perpetrator. So that's a must. Again, if you made any observations, what records were reviewed, tell us about the resident, history, diagnosis, behaviors. If you could please include the resident's current care plan interventions, if there were any revised interventions that occurred, and then measures that you have put in place to prevent. Sometimes that gets missed as well. And then again, as I just shared, you're going to summarize everything and really write out a conclusive statement on why we're not going to substantiate abuse or why we're ruling it out. Sometimes we just get kind of these really generic statements. And so it's really important for us to determine whether a thorough investigation occurred. These are the kind of things we need to see in an investigation. So they should all seem kind of common sense, but you'd be surprised sometimes it gets missed. I know you guys are really busy, and I know sometimes conducting these investigations can be very timely. So, and I think that's all I had. Thanks, Christy. Any questions related to what I just shared?
Now, and if I could just add, as far as fries, we can't say enough as far as if, we always encourage folks to get back into regulation and look at Chapter 5 specifically. That's a big driver for us of, if we are looking at possibly a triage level at immediate jeopardy, I mean, that's a 3-day versus a 7-day. Did you implement anything? And so that really tells us the story of how we can triage something. So, and then the more you have, the more we can really, hey, this is the bigger picture. This is what we understand is going on. And it hopefully doesn't even have to get triaged at a higher level that we can review it, And a lot of fries do get closed out after you guys submit information. But that's why we can't stress enough, when you have those really good, comprehensive investigations, it really helps us as well. And it helps you keep us out of the building as well. So always encourage that. So appreciate it, Kathy. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Christy. There's a question. Can you share a link for what to report just for educational purposes? I'm not sure I can share a link, but if you have your Appendix PP, the regulations, I would really point to F609 is really going to outline what you need to report. That helps. Thanks, Christy.
Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Christy. Hi, everybody. My name is Jeremiah. I'm one of the
Jay.
3 policy analysts with the nursing facility licensing team. Just wanted to direct everybody to the slide that's currently on the screen. There is the long-term care ombudsman's office has moved to a new location. Currently on our involuntary notice of transfer form, there is the old address on the form. We're working diligently to try to get the form updated as quickly as possible. We sent out a provider alert, I believe a week or 2 ago with this new address as well. So administrators were aware that the ombudsman office has moved. This is the new address for the ombudsman's office. So if you are issuing an involuntary notice of transfer, one of the requirements is that you have to send a copy of the notice, registered or certified mail, to your local DHS office where your case managers are based out of, and one to the long-term care ombudsman's office. So this is the address that you will want to send that certified or registered mail notice to. And I went over last news hour, I went over a copy of filling out a notice of transfer. I'm going to do it again. I know we have new administrators starting all the time, administrators transferring from other states, and Oregon's process is a little bit different and a little more stringent, I think, than some other states. So I'm going to go through the notice really quick about filling out the notice. So notice is issued to, you want to put the name of the facility in that first box, who the resident is that you're issuing the notice to. Next line down is the copies of the notice have been issued to the following people. So you're going to want to put the resident, you want to put the long-term care ombudsman, the local DHS office. If the resident has a case manager, you can put the case manager's name, and then DHS office. And then if the resident has a guardian, you would want to issue a copy of the notice and include them in that box as well about who the notice was issued to. Date of proposed transfer. This is always a big one. I actually had just a notice the other day. 99% of the time, you're going to be required to issue a minimum 30-day notice. I always recommend 31 days because if somebody's going to challenge the notice, we're going to go well past the 30 days anyways. So 30 or 31 days, it doesn't really make any difference, but you know that you're going to meet the minimum requirement. Just a couple of days ago, I had one issued and it was only for 29 days. So when you issue the 30-day notice, if you're going to issue the notice, day one would be tomorrow, would be day one. You wouldn't count today as the first day of the 30-day notice. So that's for the date of the proposed transfer. Please just want to make sure, because if it's less than 30 days and you go to an administrative hearing, an administrative law judge is going to count those days and could potentially more than likely rule in the resident's favor, and you have to start the process all over again. Location that the resident is going to. This is probably one of the most important parts on the form. Most of the time, you're going to need to locate another facility that agrees to accept the resident, and you would put that location as the discharge location. It could be another nursing facility, or it could be a lower level of care if it's appropriate for the resident, like a residential care facility, assisted living facility, or adult foster home. You want to just put one location. Don't put to be determined. Don't put multiple locations. You want to put one specific location, one specific address. Please do not put home. I understand that that probably means the resident's home, but we need one specific location that the resident is proposed to be transferred to. And so you would put, if going to another facility, you would put the locations, other facilities location address on that line. The next box, you want to check why you're issuing the notice of transfer. There is emergency or welfare reasons, medical emergency or welfare reasons. Most of the time, this would be when a resident's behavior creates a serious and immediate threat. It could be if the resident you believe no longer needs the care and services provided by the facility, that could meet that requirement as well. If that's what you're doing, part of that rule, if you have a resident that leaves a nursing facility often and you believe that you don't really are providing them any care and services and they could be successful independently, make sure part of the rule says a resident may be transferred when the resident's physician states in writing. So you would need the resident's physicians to state in writing that their health has improved sufficiently, that the resident no longer needs the services and care provided by the facility. And then again, there's non-payment is another reason that's checked quite a bit. The other one's not very often. If you have, there's one that's for a conviction of a sex crime. If you have a resident and you were not aware that the resident has had a conviction of a sex crime in the past, you become aware after you've admitted the resident, please reach out to our licensing team. There's 5 or 6 requirements. You potentially the facility could issue a less than 30-day move-out notice or almost an immediate move-out notice to that resident, but you have to meet 5 or 6 criteria for that to be applicable. So, and part of the rule says that you need to reach out to the nursing facility licensing team. That's actually in the administrative rule. So please reach out to us if you have a situation like that, and we can talk through it to see if the resident meets all of the requirements and what we need to do in that type of situation. Down below, there's a box and there's a kind of a blue line that's pointed to it. It says more specifically, and this is very important as well. More specifically, this action is taken. So you'd want to check the box that's appropriate. And then down below, part of the requirement is it says more specifically, this action is taken, proposed because, and then it says include the specific subsection of the OAR, which gives the facility the authority to issue the notice. So please, if you check the box for medical emergency or welfare reasons, you need to, down below where it says more specifically, put that exact administrative rule. So you would want to put 411-088-0020 1 little a. For example, if you're going to issue the notice to a resident that their health has improved sufficiently that they no longer need the care and services provided by the facility. I think there is a couple questions in the chat. Christy, can you read a couple questions in the chat there? Or Dave?
Yeah. To reach out, do you want us to email you or do you want us to call?
Either one, you can call or send an email to the nursing facility licensing box. I monitor that box most days, all day long. So you can reach out to the NIF licensing box or give us a call to discuss it, and not just conviction of a sex crime potential residents, but any type of notices. If you want to talk through a case or a situation that you have going on with your facility, we can talk through that with you anytime. Again, just call or send us an email, and if need be, we can even set up a short meeting if you want to include your corporate staff or other folks from your team at the facility, and then we can talk through that situation together as well. So feel free to reach out by phone or to the NIF licensing box. You can reach out to us to our individual email boxes, but I would recommend please use the NIF licensing box because multiple people are able to access that box. And if one of us is out ill for an extended period of time or whatever reason, there's other folks that are monitoring that NIF licensing box.
Yeah, and Dave dropped that in the chat. Other question was if a resident requests to appeal the notice, what organization notifies the facility?
So as soon as the facility knows that the resident, like if the resident says, I want to challenge this notice or I want to appeal the notice, please reach out to the NIF licensing box by email and let us know, and we can get that administrative process started quickly. Sometimes a family member who's assisting the resident will reach out to us directly and let us know that they want to appeal the notice. Sometimes the long-term care ombudsman office will reach out to us after they get a copy of the notice and after they have hopefully spoken to the resident to determine if they want to challenge the notice. Sometimes it's a case manager. So really, as soon as we find out from any party that the resident wants to challenge the notice, what our first step is setting up an informal conference. That's a requirement before we can send it to the Office of Administrative Hearings. And it's a time that we can talk through the notice together. And, we're very kind of blunt with facilities. We don't tell facilities what if they can go forward or not usually, but usually we'll say, well, we've seen this type of situation go to hearing. We suggest issuing a new notice for this reason. We might say this notice is invalid for this and this reason. So that if we do say that, you would need to issue a new notice. And really that's for the benefit of the facility, because it's we would usually see a 45 to 60-day process to have the informal conference, to send it to the Office of Administrative Hearings, for them to schedule the hearing, to conduct the hearing, and then the administrative law judge has 2 weeks after the hearing to issue their final decision. So it's a long process. And so if the notice isn't filled out correctly and you spend those 60 days and the resident's there, you lose a hearing, and then you have to issue, if you choose to, issue the notice again and start the whole process again from scratch. So it's really in the facility's best interest to, if we give, the facility directions or, best case scenario for the facility to reissue the notice, it's really in their best interest to do that. And was there any other questions in the chat, Christy?
Yes. What if the location of where the resident is going to transfer changes? What do we do?
You would need to really issue a new involuntary notice of transfer. Let's say the resident still needs care and services, but due to behaviors, there's other facilities that might be more adept or equipped to handle those behaviors. And you would want to send the resident's packet. We would ask that you don't send out a blanket to 50 facilities all at once, but maybe choose 3 to 5 facilities that maybe you think there's a good chance that they might review this resident's packet and information and would agree to accept them. Once you get that formal acceptance that they would agree to accept the resident, then you could issue the involuntary notice of transfer with that as the discharge location. The facility doesn't, let's say you send out, you issue an involuntary notice of transfer going to a certain facility, and the resident says, I don't want to go to that facility. Well, that's not it's not really up to the resident. Sometimes if you have another facility that's agreed to accept the resident, you can continue to move forward if you choose to with that as the discharge location. Let's say you send out a packet to another facility in the meantime, and that other facility, maybe it's an adult foster home, and they agree to accept the resident. The resident goes for a visit and wants to transfer instead to that adult foster home. The resident can transfer at any time voluntarily to that other facility that was located that they may want to transfer to. But if the discharge location has changed, let's say that you have the discharge location as the resident's home, and maybe that home is no longer available, or that apartment has gone, or for whatever reason, and the location now that's not a viable location, you would need to locate a new appropriate discharge location and issue a new involuntary notice of transfer.
There's no additional questions, Jay.
Okay. And make sure you sign and date the notice. Again, make sure you send a copy registered or certified mail, and make sure you have copies of that. I've seen facilities lose it in an administrative hearing because they didn't have the proof that they sent the notices registered or certified mail. So it's extremely important that you have that documentation. The administrative law judge is going to have you send them information prior to the hearing so they can review all your documentation, why you issue the notice, your copies of the registered or certified mailing, all of that. So that's documentation is extremely important, and filling out the notice correctly is extremely important if you plan to move to the formal administrative hearing. And again, reach out to us at any time if you have questions or situations to the NIF licensing box, or give us a call. So I am going to piggyback on what Kathy spoke a little bit. I know it sounds like they have been getting a lot of concerns about communication with facilities by phone, and licensing has also been receiving a lot of concerns from family members, from community partners, from other DHS local offices. And I understand, I think many facilities are moving or transitioning to a VoIP or a voice over internet protocol system. And I know there's benefits, and I think there's some negatives also with those kind of systems. So we would ask if you've done that, or if your corporation or your facility is looking to do that, please try and troubleshoot the problems quickly as they come up. If you have people, saying, I can't get through, I'm having to call, what we've heard and what I've experienced myself is, I call several times and it just rings and rings, and then it just goes dead. There's no opportunity to leave a message. Nobody answers the phone. Sometimes they'll get a message saying your phone call cannot be completed. And so please troubleshoot those as quickly as possible. Not only family members, you have hospitals reaching out to you for potential discharges, or residents that need to come back to your facility. You have DHS case managers that need to come and visit residents. It might be licensing. We might be reaching out and need to talk to someone immediately or that day, like the ombudsman. So it's important that you have a functioning communication system. And again, please troubleshoot those problems as quickly as you can. I think one of the negatives that I've read about these VoIP systems is that the facility has to have the internet bandwidth to support them. And I don't know if that might be some of the problems that we're seeing. So make sure that, the internet speed or the bandwidth that the facility has can support the, maybe the amount of phone lines, that kind of thing. So please just, again, troubleshoot with your, if you have corporate folks, work with them to figure out and troubleshoot those problems, because it is a concern that complaints is seeing, and that licensing has heard from numerous different folks throughout the community about those communication concerns. Also, another potential downfall, if the internet system for the facility goes down, that could potentially mean that the communication system to the facility goes down as well. So please have some type of emergency backup. And you might have, I know I've talked to one or two facilities that have gone to the VoIP system, but they have added back some landlines, some in resident rooms, some cordless phones. One facility added 2 immediately and discovered that wasn't enough, and added 2 additional for staff or for resident use. So if you need to do that, again, troubleshoot with your team and with your corporate folks to see if you need to add any additional lines or communication devices to ensure that everybody is able to communicate effectively with your facility. Any heating or HVAC failures. We've had a couple facilities, and we really appreciate that, reach out to us in the last few weeks about heating system failures and what they are doing. So we would ask that if you have, if your HVAC or your heating system is not working appropriately, or it's not keeping your facility at appropriate temperatures, please let us know what is going on, and then what your plan is. You've had vendors out there trying to figure out the problem. If you're using alternate heat sources to keep the resident in rooms or hallways, if those heat sources maybe potentially could be too hot to the touch, how you're keeping residents safe from touching those heat sources. So please let us know if that's occurring in your facility, so we know what's going on. It's much better instead of the ombudsman or family members reaching out to us because they come into the facility and it's freezing, and they're worried about the residents in the facility. So that way we know what's going on and we can respond. And then once the system has been repaired and the heating system is back to functioning and everything is back to normal, so to speak, please send us a follow-up email or phone call to let us know that as well, to kind of close the loop so that we know that the system is back and everything is back in order. So we appreciate that. And any other safety issues or concerns, unfortunately, if there's have a resident that's found with any type of gun or weapon, if you have concerns about a resident, reach out to us. Hopefully the facility has a policy in place regarding weapons, just something to think about if you don't already, or please review your current policy if you do. And fires, if there is a fire, it could be right outside the facility. Some facilities are in very populated areas where there might be houseless folks that are burning things right outside the facility, or it might be a resident that might start a fire in their room for whatever reason. Maybe they are smoking in the room, which is also super dangerous, but it's, obviously seen it happen and occur. So if there's any type of fire that's happened outside the facility or inside the facility, please let us know what's going on, what happened, with the situation. Obviously, I think you would want to fill out a FRI for an incident like that as well. Please, if the occurrence meets the requirement of issuing a FRI, please make sure and do that as well. But please keep licensing in the know, so we are aware of what's going on at your facility, and we're able to answer questions if they come into us. And it makes it easier so that we don't have to reach out to you immediately and ask for answers immediately. When makes it much easier when you let us know what's going on at your facility. Because we might get a phone call that we need to call you and we need to get the answer in the next hour. So we might have to call you over and over again, leave messages, try and get through just really try to make contact with anybody that can give us some information. So we really appreciate you getting ahead of that and letting us know if one of these occurrences happens in your facility. And I am going to turn it, I think, over to Chris to talk about reporting staff changes. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Jay. So my name is Chris Statz, and one of the things that I do is support for our licensing to keep track of the staff. And what that means is that I need an immediate notification of changes in staff to the administrator, director of nursing services, or your infection control specialist. So I'm going to go ahead and send this information so that you guys have it. You can always reach out to me at chris.stats@odhs.oregon.gov, and with any questions that you may have regarding staff changes. And I know sometimes they happen immediately, but we need to know immediately so that we have the ability to contact the correct person at a moment's notice. So if you have any further questions, go ahead and email me, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chris. And the NewsHour feedback survey. Yeah, I think that's on me because I know
Well-
Kathy developed it, so
Sorry.
I didn't know if you were speaking. I apologize.
Oh, no, my bad. I mean, Christy, what I'll share is that, yeah, we have implemented a feedback survey that will help us improve these quarterly NIF news hours. So please take the time. Will really only take you a few minutes. So we would really value your feedback. And I'm hoping the link is shared. I know it was in the agenda at one point.
Yeah, it's in the agenda, Kathy. I'll post it
Okay.
in the chat here in a minute as well, too.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm afraid to touch my screen because I think it's behind where it is right now. So I don't want to
Yeah,
mess it
I
up.
understand.
So I'll pull it up in a second here.
Yeah, we'll drop the link into the chat. Yes, really do appreciate any and all feedback. We're always looking to improve and how, just like providers, quality improvement is something we really value and strive to do better. And of course, want to know what you want to hear about because we're here for you. We do have a question of what kind of staff changes, management, administration, DNS. Yes, we do want to know administration, DNS. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. Those are the key players that we're really looking to get updated. And
Yeah.
corporate folks, changes are really helpful for us too.
Right. Yeah, we need administrators, directors of nursing services, and the infection control specialists. And our corporate people are usually the ones that notify us of those, but the administrators are the ones that are hands-on and working with these people daily. And so we look to them to be the ones to provide us with a director of nursing services or infection control specialist. And the information that we need on these people are their names, including a middle initial, because some people have the same name. So we need their email address, their work cell phone number, and that's basically it. And if you have any questions, like, you can email me directly, chris.stats@oregon. Or odhs.oregon.gov. Happy to answer questions.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, no, it wouldn't be the floor staff that we would need. Yes. Thank you. And yeah, we post the slide deck will be posted on the website. So we won't directly send it out to the folks on the call, but we do put it on the website for folks to gather at a later time. You'll have to give us a little bit of time. I don't think it's on there yet, but we'll get that uploaded on there. So, sorry, CMP and Echo.
Perfect. And I apologize. I had to turn off my camera because the audio was cracking up on me. So I apologize. I just wanted to give you guys a reminder that we do have the civil money penalty program up and running. This is the funds that we have available from the civil money penalties that CMS issues and the state issues. So I wanted to encourage you guys, if you have projects that you're working on, please reach out to us, or Kathy Orius is the one right now who's doing that. And also put a plug in for the nursing facility behavioral health substance use disorder ECHO project, which has started. They are still accepting new participants. I think it started on January 14th, but they are still accepting new folks. There are 6 different sessions that are going on. We did send out a provider alert about this a few weeks back. So you can take a look at that. And then as soon as I get a chance here, I'll also put a link to the Oregon ECHO Network website that you can go out and look at. There are several projects under ECHO that are going on right now or upcoming. So encourage you guys to participate in those. They're very valuable. So thanks, Christy.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. Well, that leaves us open to any questions folks have. I don't think folks tend to be a shy group, so I don't hear anything, but as always, if you do find, oh, I forgot, please reach out. We have the licensing group. You can contact the licensing email that are there, and it will get filtered to the right folks. But always reach out if you have questions. We're here to, have the same outcome for the best outcomes for our residents. So we want to try to be collaborative within our own roles and make sure you guys are supported in being successful in your roles. So yeah, we can have the best resident outcomes. So again, I'll give last chance. Oh, okay. So do have a question in the chat. Been approached by some programs doing a CMP program for activities. They are saying they're allocated budget for this category. Do you know what the budget is for each facility?
We can follow up on that. I don't believe there is a specific, like a cap on that one in particular. There were some that CMS did during the pandemic where you got $1,500, for example. If it's just a general program, feel free to, submit what you feel like it's going to cost, and we can take a look at it. But I will follow up just to make sure, because I don't think there's a cap on the activities funds.
Thanks for the question. Right, anything additional? Otherwise, we will give you a little bit of your time back, and then yeah, we'll be posting the slides on the licensing website, so that will be available, and that's kind of where you go for these updates, the provider alerts. That's all the same website you'll go to gather those slides. And then also, Dave, I don't know if you can finagle it to drop in the survey link.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
Bear with me if it pops up on the screen. Sorry about that.
No worries. I gotta love technology. So again, encourage you guys to please fill out the survey. We'd really appreciate it. And that, I will. Well, hold on until you can drop it in. That way, make sure if we close the chat, it will kind of beforehand, then it kind of messes with it. So thank you.
Christy, I will stay on to make sure that it does that, and then I'll stop the recording.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Dave.
I just realized I have to open the document again. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Really appreciate your time today. And don't feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.